Hi there, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here. This is video 2 for the Shortcuts price list that will go out this week on the 22nd. That's Wednesday at 9 p.m. Sydney time sharp. First come, first serve. If you would like to be on the price list, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. As per the first video, I'm just going to put a plug in for something I'll be doing over the next few weeks, which is a bit special. I'll be raffling off some very valuable records indeed, worth $500 to $600. I will send an email with all the details of how I will be doing that on Facebook. Upshot is you could spend a few dollars and end up with a record worth 50 times it. And so that's a good outcome if you're lucky. Now, this is the first tranche of UK and other presses that I have pulled together from my trip to Europe, and hopefully you find something here that you like. There is a Japanese list that is currently being uploaded, and so you may well have already seen it. It features the Maytals and Herbie Hancock and Kiss and Al Green and many more. This list is REM, the Smiths, the Dream Syndicate, Stevie Nicks, Echo and the Bunnymen, James, and others. In saying all of that, there's only one place to start. In the discussion for the greatest debut album of all time, this is REM's Murmur. This is the UK first press, SP 70604. I mean, what can be said about REM other than the fact that they arrived in whatever it was, 1982, 1983, almost kind of fully formed in a very kind of guitar heavy era. Here you've got the Byrds and Poetry and Mystique all wrapped into a college radio kind of pie that just was impossible to ignore. And it all started with Chronic Town. Now, I have a UK first press of Chronic Town on my shelf. Never been able to find another. And in fact, this is my personal UK first press of Murmur. And so I was delighted to find another. I cannot overestimate how wonderful this record sounds on vinyl. It demolishes the CD version that I had. It is warm and velvety and embraces you, and this quality of the songs just shines through. Pilgrimage, Laughing, Radio Free Europe. It just goes on and on. It's hard to overemphasize. I mean, when this record was released, the critics went mad. Remember, this was Rolling Stone's album of the year in 1983 over some of the biggest blockbusters of all time. Hello, Michael Jackson. So the UK first press has really quiet vinyl, but it's the warmth. It exudes analog, squelchy feelings in me and has a little bit of a softer end. So the Japanese press of this is just a little bit too dry. The UK, this jangly, warm, velvety record is the way to go. It's absolutely magnificent. I had this record hanging around for a while. This is not a UK press, but it felt appropriate to put this in now. This is a beautiful Aussie first press of REM's Document, complete with the inner sleeve in fantastic condition. Document was their 5th record after Life's Rich Pageant, which is in my kind of top 2 or 3 REM records. This is the record where they dropped, The One I Love, blunt and anthemic, and it's the end of the world as we know it, playful and literate. This is a record that is a turning point to what they became, and in saying that, it still has playfulness and joy, but side two in particular is a bit of a deeper dive into the things that were upsetting them about the world disturbance at the Hearn House. And what was the name of the track that was then covered by Wire? Was it King of Bird? No, Fireplace. So, really interesting, or maybe they covered Wire. Really interesting record. And obviously, someone will love both of those. There's a number of rarities in the collection I brought back from the UK. This is one of them. This is the Smiths' The Peel Sessions. This is in a similar way that REM were driving Jangle back into the charts in the US. The Smiths were doing the same in the UK. Beautiful record on, look at that Strange Fruit label. This EP really captures the Smiths in a lean and hungry phase. It is taut. The songs are played at a faster pace than the studio recordings that you might know. So what you got here, What Difference Does It Make? Miserable Me, Reel Around the Fountain. The version of Reel Around the Fountain, for the Smiths fans out there, it is magnificent. And then maybe for me, the least of the songs here, Handsome Devil, is the fourth track. Just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And very, very hard to find. Particularly in a really clean condition, because this record lived on people's turntables, and therefore, finding one in superb condition is not easy. So highly, highly recommended. Strange Fruit, The Peel Sessions. Probably not the rarest record in this first tranche. I think it's this. This is Secrets of the I Ching by 10,000 Maniacs. I'm just going to take it out. Now you can see I've put it in its own sleeve. What I love about this label, you know how much I love labels. There's that side, which features a young lady tying a piece of string to the back of a chair. And then on this side, you have a little bit more information about the record. Grave Victory, Pit Viper, Katrina's Fair, Christian Burial Music, 10,000 Maniacs. Now, this also comes with the insert, which is one of the most beautiful inserts I've seen. Look at that. It is like, it's a unbelievable image. I'm sure they've drawn inspiration from a almost Gothic image from Europe in the 1600s or 1700s, I'm sure. Robert Buck on guitar, Natalie Merchant voice, Dennis Drew, Stephen Gustafson. I'm fairly sure, I'll have all my facts straight by Wednesday, that this is the US first press, which means that this is probably the rarest record in the 10,000 Maniacs oeuvre. And they have some beautiful records. Another raw, jangly, kind of rhythmic record. Really interesting electric bass on this one. The standout track for me is My Mother the War. It's very, very interesting. And highly, highly sought after and rare. And so I thought it's another one that was worthy of making the list. This is one of these early presses that was funded by friends and family, and look what became of 10,000 Maniacs and Natalie Merchant. So yeah, really cool. All right, now there's a scene in the UK that I've enjoyed for a long time, and sorry, a scene in the US, that was called the Paisley Underground, and the Dream Syndicate were a band that really kind of embraced that whole kind of Californian sound. And this is their record. I think it may be their debut album as well. Or maybe it's a 12-inch. I'll do more digging on this. But this is a pretty rare release as well, particularly for those of you who are into, again, that 80s jangled pop. This is well worth having a listen to. The tracks, Sure Thing, That's Always What You Say When You Smile, and Some Kind of Itch with Steve Wynn on guitar and vocals. That is the Dream Syndicate. Now, the next couple of records are much more well known, but again, it's really cool to have these UK versions because they're, compared to our Aussie cousins, these are very, very, very significantly better sounding and are different, sufficiently different to the Japanese presses for me to have interest. This is the Nevermind the Bollocks press. Now, I can't quite tell whether this is first or second press. There's a lot going on in the matrix. I'll try and piece it all together by the time we get to Wednesday night. But it's on the green and yellow. So I'm pretty sure that means it's not the because I'm sure the UK label for the first press was a blue kind of label. So this may well be the second press. But I played a little bit of it earlier today because Finbar had never heard Sex Pistols, so I decided to give him a blast. And watching his face, it was quite funny. It's very loud, so that kind of gives me an opportunity to explain why UK presses are so interesting. Compared to Australian presses, UK presses are significantly warmer in the bottom end and significantly kind of tie back the uppers, and so that lends itself to a very analog and warm sound. When you compare to the Japanese equivalent is brighter and more accurate. The UK is warmer and bassier. Now that's a big generalization because there are lots of Japanese records that are really warm and bassy, like particularly jazz and blues records and the likes of Roxy Music and some of the David Bowie pressings. There are a few rock records that sound a bit lighter in comparison. And I would say the UK press of the Sex Pistols, God Save the Queen, is significant, or Nevermind the Bollocks, is significantly better than the Japanese. All right, what about this? The UK first press of Rattle & Hum by U2. 1987, after they'd fallen in love with the United States. There is the label, complete with inners. Musically, this is a scrapbook. It is a little bit of blues, a little bit of country, a little bit of gospel, a little bit of Dylan, a little bit of B.B. King, a little bit of live music, a little bit of studio music. Critics were split. I remember when this came out and there were those who absolutely lambasted it, particularly as it came with that very pompous movie. But I think there are moments of genuine grace on here. The final track, All I Want Is You, I think is their crowning glory. I don't think they ever did a better track than All I Want Is You. And this leads with songs like God Part 2, Bullet Blue Sky 2, or sorry, not Bullet Blue Sky, God Part 2, and maybe more Heartland. But this leads to Acton Baby. And so that's a really good thing. Like Hawk Moon 269 is a really, really cool guitar song. The Edge is on fire. So really, really lovely sounding record. Happens to be that this is the same that I have. I have a UK first press of this on my shelf and I enjoy it very, very much. All right, I've got a couple here now that are much cheaper and much than some of these because some of those are more expensive, but are really, really good as well. The Secret Value of Daydreaming, Julian Lennon. So this is, again, the UK first press. This was his debut, and it kind of just surprised people just how much he sounded like his dad. On my Facebook reel just a few days ago, I because I'd been listening to this record, I got a clip of Paul McCartney having an interview in the 80s where he was talking about just how much Julian sounded like his dad. It's kind of uncanny. But again, really radio ready, great guitar sound. The singles did really well. And so, yeah, I think probably his best record. And again, this is not expensive, like $10, $12, but that warm UK vinyl sound is really, really, really good. All right, I think this is the UK first press of Stevie Nicks' Rock a Little. This was a little bit more glossy, a little bit more torch pop than some of her others. Big choruses though. Instantly identifiable singing tone though. Talk to Me, I Can't Wait. Many songs that were kind of FM radio staples. And an interesting time capsule of kind of that mid-80s pop period when even Stevie Nicks lent into that sound. And again, lovely sounding record. Now, this copy of Belladonna that I picked up is, as it turns out, not a UK first press. This is actually a German first press and includes the inner. The record itself is pretty lovely. There's a little bit of damage in the corner of the sleeve of this. But yeah, German first press of Belladonna. I suspect most people would agree with me that this was her solo debut, and I'm not sure she ever did better. But if I'm wrong about that, let me know. You've got Edge of 17, Stop Dragging My Heart Around with Tom Petty, The Highwayman. Bit of an 80s classic, that one. Now, when I was going through these boxes and picking things out, I asked the store owners, I went to 3 different stores, and I asked them to pick out a record that I would never pick, that they knew was great. And I asked them to consider audiophile and sound quality as well as maybe not picking something that is typical. And so this was the pick from the shop in Dungannon, County Tyrone, where I'm from, that I went to. This is Quartet by Ultravox. Not a record I know at all, but the owner of this record shop raved about the sound quality of this album. Absolutely raved about it. 1982, early kind of more almost post-punk Ultravox. And this is the sleeve, this kind of white sheen, beautiful condition vinyl. Sleeve designed by Peter Saville, who is just someone I've always kind of appreciated, and really kind of chunky bass on this thing. Like I wondered why this one had been picked. It only took me a couple of tracks. It has a really low sonic rumble. I tell you what, there's a lot of record for your money here. And the synth sounds are really, really great. I would never have picked this. Very interesting. This is Quartet by Ultravox. Now, in that same shop, I picked up 3 of the early Echo and the Bunnymen records. So I've got Ocean Rain, Echo and the Bunnymen, the self-titled, and Heaven Up Here. So the UK first press of Heaven Up Here in particular is heavily sought after. Just go and look at the Discogs reviews. If you know the album and you know that kind of propulsive, bassy sound, I Promise, Show of Strength, All My Colours, just go and look at the reviews of this UK record. Absolutely just ridiculously good. It comes with the inner, lovely condition. Now, let's see. This one is not a UK first press. This is a Canadian first press. This is the self-titled 1987 set. So The Game, Lips Like Sugar. not the game, sorry, Never Stop, Rescue, The Cutter, Back of Love, Do It Clean, Live. This was all recorded live in 1983. And finally, probably the pièce de résistance. This is the UK first press of what's probably their masterpiece. And it is in lovely condition. Ocean Rain by Echo and the Bunnymen. Silver, Nocturnal Me, Crystal Days. The opening track on side 2 being The Killing Moon. It is an absolutely immortal track, full of mystique and dynamics. Seven Seas is another track that I've always enjoyed in this record. And yeah, for those of you who love it, I think that UK first press is the holy grail. All right, just a couple more to go. I have Strip Mine by James. So this is Manchester's kind of misfit, kind of pop rock melodists. This was pre-sit down. In this record, they're more kind of nervy post-punk. Tim Booth doing his thing. Really, really, really fine record. And again, this is the UK first press, complete with inner. I have just 2 more to go. This is a little bit different. This is not an 80s original. This is a 2015 first press from Europe of Florence and the Machines. How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. The London kind of Baroque pop powerhouse, Florence Welch. And this one's more kind of horn-kissed, more gospel-y. Ship to Wreck, What Kind of Man, etc. Still in the shrink, in lovely condition. I just thought that might be of interest to some of you. And then finally, I finished just with a record that I picked just because I love it. Rattus Norvegicus, The Stranglers. Guildford's kind of snarling outsiders with the Dorish keys and such a really muscly group. Peaches and Goodbye Toulouse. Get a Grip on Yourself, Down in the Sewer. Just a great record. And what's really important about these UK presses with bands like the Stranglers is when you've got that really warm bassy sound, and the Stranglers had one of the greatest bass players of all time in Jean-Jacques Burnel, then it really lends itself to the UK versions that sound truly spectacular. Right, there you have it. The first tranche of UK records, the Stranglers, Echo and the Bunnymen, Florence and the Machine, all the way up to the Smiths and REM, and many more in between. Please let me know if you have any comments or thoughts. If you would like to be on the price list but aren't yet, drop me an email, shortcutsrecords@aos@gmail.com. I post worldwide. Thank you for watching, and watch out for more UK lists to come over the next month. Bye.